Hi, this is Jason from Effective Dashboards, helping maintenance and reliability professionals get the most out of Power BI. So welcome to another video. In this video, I'll be looking at creating a Gantt chart that's going to display a list of work orders. Okay, so let's get started. So we've got a blank page here. I've put a title in, work order schedule, and we're going to go and add in a Gantt chart. But before that, I just want to show you how this is going to be used, just very briefly. So what we're going to do is this is going to be a drill through page, this work order schedule, from this front page here. Okay, so we've got a front page that's displaying a work order backlog dashboard. Now you can actually, if you look at the link below, Power BI Quick Start is the course and it's free, so you'll be able to understand how to actually go and create this dashboard. Just simply sign up to the course in the link below. Okay, so we're going to create a drill through from this page here to display a list of work orders for a discipline and a particular department. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go and get the Gantt chart software. So if you go to get more visuals, there's not a Gantt chart, a piece of Gantt chart software that's one of the standard Power BI visualizations. But if you go into this get more visuals and search for Gantt, there is quite a few of these Gantt charts in here. Okay, so you can see here, a lot of them require additional purchases. The one that I'm going to use is this Gantt chart by MAQ Software, and it's got this tick here. It means it's certified by Microsoft, which is great. And I've used that one as well, but this one, in my opinion, is a little bit better. Okay, and it's got 4 stars as well. So I've already added that in, and it will appear here. So let's start adding in some fields. So the first thing we've got is a category. So that's going to be the row. You can have multiple categories, but that's going to define the granularity of the row. So we're going to start off with a work order description. So let's go and stick this work order description in as the category. And it's going to ask us for a start and end date. So we need a couple of dates. We need the start date and the end date, and that's to create the bars for each of the Gantt, each of the entries in the Gantt chart. So a work order has got a scheduled start date. I'm going to add that in there. And we've got a scheduled finish date, so we'll add that in there. And this should start to add in some additional information. Here we go. Okay, so I'll make it slightly bigger. Now the performance of this can suffer, and here we've got a little information. There's too many values, so I'm not 100% sure what the upper limit is, and I would recommend first of all that you only use this for quite small numbers, maybe into the tens, sort of low hundreds of work orders. Probably even less than that. Probably I'd keep it really a low number. It's not a scheduling tool. It's more of a display to give the user that's drilled through from a main dashboard an indication of when the work is going to be actually completed. So to help with that, I am going to add in a couple of filters. Okay, so I've added in a filter on department and a filter on discipline, and I've filtered those down. So we've just got less work orders in here to render, and it'll just speed things up a little bit. Okay, so getting back to the field the field options here, the field wells. We've got a legend. I'll come back to that in a second when we look at the configuration options. In the category, so we've got the work order description. Now in my data there, I've concatenated the description, which is all work order descriptions, just made up data, with the work order number and the work type. However, you can actually add in additional fields in here as well if you want to. Let me see. Okay, so you can start to see you can add additional fields in here should you need to, and we'll look at those in a minute. Okay, data label. So this data label field adds a label onto each or beside each one of these bars. So I'm going to add in here the planned hours. So I'm going to go and find the planned hours, which, here we go, here. So I'll add that data label in, and we'll see those appear there, okay. And then we've got a KPI. So KPIs, we'll cover that in a second as well. This just allows you to add additional metrics related to each row of the Gantt chart. But we can see here we've started to get a Gantt chart being built, and tooltip is just another thing that we can add in Let's go for the priority. I'll put that in here. Okay, so we can put planned hours in there. In fact, actually, can you use a measure for the? Let's look at remaining hours. Yeah, you can use a measure or you can use a calculated column. So yeah, so this is a basic Gantt chart, and pretty straightforward to get it up and running. And you can see that we've got a Gantt chart there with the different dates along the top, and these are the different work orders. So that's just kicked things off and got things started. Now let's go and look at some of the formatting options. Okay, so under general, pretty much nothing out of the ordinary there, just the X and Y position along with the dimensions. Column headers. So in here we can add a little bit of formatting here to underline these headers here if we need to. We can change the size. So there's a little bit of formatting we can do for the font colors and stuff. I'm just going to leave them as they are. I think they're fine. The category. Okay, so this category is allows us to actually create a hierarchy. Okay, and this is this hierarchy layout here. So let me go and show you how you set that up. So we've got the work order description. Now we might want to split this by a further category. So let's use department. Okay, so I'm going to add department in here. And that's going to add an extra field in here. And I'm going to go and choose engineering as well as maintenance. Okay. So once that's done, if we go back to our formatting options here, and we've got category is on. Now switching category off, all that does is just hide that that end section there. So if you just wanted to see the Gantt chart with the list of work orders, you could do that. You could put the work order description next to each one, and that might save a little bit of space. But I'll leave the category on for this one here. And this is a key field here. This hierarchy layout is going to be on. Right, and what you can see is it's actually taken the first category, which is department, and I've got multiple selections there, so there must not be any for engineering. Let's go and find some for any instrumentation engineering. So let's just go back to engineering. And I'm going to choose fabric. Okay, so yeah, now we can see we've just filtered some of the data in. So now we can see we've got maintenance and engineering, and if we open up this maintenance, we've got all the maintenance related work orders. And if we open up expand the engineering section, we're going to see all the engineering work orders. Okay, now at the moment they are both the same color. However, there is an option to change the color of the overall summary bars and also the individual Gantt chart bars. And to do that, we need to go in to the legend. Okay. Now, when you add a legend, you need to add in a category, a field that's already in the category. So if I wanted to create a legend and say it was by discipline, it's going to complain. Please select a field that is already present in the category. So I need to choose department. There's not much point in choosing work order description, so I'll choose department. So let's pull department in here. So I'll give it a second. Yeah, okay, so now we've got a legend here. Engineering is this blue color, and maintenance is this, what would you call it, taupe or a different shade of blue, different type of blue. Okay, and the same, we can expand it if we need to, and we can contract it, and it just makes it a little bit more manageable. Okay, so the other thing you notice here is that it's been pulled through into the actual Gantt color, the colors of each individual Gantt as well, each individual bar for each work order there. So that is setting up the categories. Data labels, you can choose if they're on the left or the right of the actual bar. I think the right's good because you can see it and then you can see the actual information next to it. You can change the size, maybe make it slightly smaller if you're sort of push for space. So that's the data labels. And then bar formatting. So this is showing the bars or not showing the bars. So you can decide whether you want it to be a different color, and this is where you're going to be able to decide what the different colors are for each of the categories that is, yeah, for each of the category values. So we've only got two at the moment, engineering and maintenance, and we might want to say, well, actually, let's choose, rather than that blue there, let's choose a different shade of blue. Okay, so just a subtle difference there. So that's the bar formatting. Scroll position. That is when you first open it up, where you're going to actually start. So there's two options here. There's the start, there's today, which is going to take you to the current date, or there's the end. Okay, so if I put it in as today, this is going to move us along to today, which is the start. All this data, this sample data I've got as well in the past, so it's not going to make much sense, but that's probably a good starting position if you're using current and up-to-date data. So I'm going to put it at start. That's going to take us right back to the start date of the earliest work date for the work order. So it's right back here on the 1st of January. In fact, actually, it's taking us right back. That'll go back to, yeah, okay, that one extends right back. So yeah, it's gonna automatically take us to the first one. I think it's actually the first of these it's going to take us to here. So we'll leave it at the first position anyway, is the scroll. Gantt date hierarchy. So this is at the top here. We can do it by month, by quarter, by year. So if we want to do it, say by week, it's going to change that to week. I think month is fine for this one. And then we've got the grid lines. So how many intervals are they? So the intervals you've chosen are 2. So it depends on what your Gantt date hierarchy is. So if we want this to be every 1 interval, then we're going to go and we'll see that appear in here. Okay, so 2 is actually okay. This makes it a little bit less cluttered. Display ratio. So this display ratio is the ratio of the display of the columns here to the actual Gantt chart area. So let's go and we'll play with that a little bit. So let's make it 30 rather than 40 because we've got plenty of space there. And we could even make it even smaller than that. Let's make it 25. Okay, so it just allows you to play with the ratios between the two sections. The title is quite, because we've used so many different fields, it's concatenated together to create this sort of pretty wacky title. So I would definitely recommend that you go and update that. Order schedule. Work order schedule. Here we go. And you can use the VAP if I need to, and the usual sort of change in the font and the colours. Now the interesting thing here is we've got conditional formatting that allows us to put some rules around what colour and also what this text actually says, which could be quite useful in some instances. Okay, and the rest of the stuff is background. This is all the stuff that's in normal stuff, but block aspect ratio, the borders, putting some shadows, etc., etc. So that is the main configuration options. So let's go back here because there was one thing we never discussed, and this is this KPI section. So the KPIs allow you to add multiple KPIs related to the information that's displayed in the Gantt chart. So I've created a couple of these already. So let's go in and I'll show you which ones they are. So the first one is, yeah, here we've got Gantt KPIs. So we've got one here for backlog status. Now this first of all, this needs to be a calculated column. You can't use a measure for some reason, so it needs to be a calculated column. And what I've done here is I've created a simple KPI that uses a switch statement. And let me just make this a little bit bigger. We're not going to go into this in too much detail, but if the work order work criticality is 1, which represents that code 1 is safety critical, and the work order is in backlog, so the work order is overdue or past its target date, then we're going to return the value of 1. if the work order only has a work criticality of 1, so it's not in backlog, but it's a work but it is safety critical, then we're going to be return a value of 2. And if the work order is in backlog, then we're going to return a value of 3. Okay, so that was the code there. So I'm going to add that in as a KPI. And then I'll show you what that does. Okay, so we can see here we've got this section here. Now in this section I think this section here is included within that ratio, so let's make that ratio a little bit bigger. Display ratio, let's move it back up to 40 for the time being. We can always reduce it later on again if we need to. So it's added a new section. Now each of these sections as well can be collapsed, and we can see that we've got blanks and then we've got 2s. So these are a 2. Remember, was if it's a safety critical work order. We can see there's some 3s in there, some 1s and some 2s. Okay, so that's the first thing we need to do. But the other formatting option we've got is to go in here, and if we go to this KPI column type, all of the values that are shown in the KPI, I'm going to add another one so you can just see this. So we'll add another one I created, and this one is simply just saying, is the work order scheduled in the future or in the past based on the date the data was extracted from here, which was sometime in 2019. So this is another KPI just for demonstration purposes. We'll have a quick look at that. This file will be available to download, so you can go and explode it and have a look at it yourself. But basically, if the work order scheduled start date is less than the work order data extract date, then it's a 1. And if the work order scheduled start date is greater than the work order extract date, so at the point when the data was extracted, it's scheduled in the future, then it's going to be a 4. Okay, so that means we've got work that's scheduled in the future. If the work's scheduled in the past, we need to go and address that and make it and schedule it into the future and put some sort of realistic estimate of when the work's going to be carried out. That's why we've made it a 1. Okay, so now we've got 2. So if we look here, this legend, okay, now we can switch that off and on, but this legend has got KPIs and it's got G, Y, O and R, and it's got 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now this I figured out, just a little bit of trial and error, corresponds to the number here. Okay, so a 1 will be red, a 2 will be orange, an orange symbol, a 3 will be yellow, and a 4 will be green. So we've got some 2s and we've got some 4s here. Now to activate this and show a colour here, what we have to do is go to the KPI column type, and there's 3 different options. There's a value, and that's what I've got here. So a value will just return the actual value, or blank, the word blank if there's no value. Then we've got a type, which looks like all it does is just return the first letter of whatever the actual value was. Okay, and I'm not sure that's particularly useful. I'm never sure how you actually set these colours, but the one I would recommend is this indicator. Now what that will do is, based on the value, it will display the related colour icon. Okay, so remember that one was a 3, so it's displaying it as being yellow. As we scroll down, we can so the orange, so it would have been a 2 actually, and then yellows would have been 3s. Let's see if there's any reds down here. Yeah, I think there was a red there. Here we've got a red. So basically, if a work order, or if the formula which I've added in for the KPI backlog status returned a 1, then it's going to then look up this 1 here and it's going to change this icon to red because we've indicated it. We've actually configured that as an indicator, and we'll do the same with this one here, an indicator. Now these are all 4s, so they're all going to be green. Okay, so that's how that particular part of it works. Have we got any reds in here? Yeah, we've got a couple of reds in here, so they've got a scheduled start date before the data was extracted. Okay, so this section here just gives you a little bit of an idea about how to create some sort of kind of traffic light system with a little bit of extra kind of granularity there. You don't need to use it, but if you return a 1, 2, 3 or 4, change it to indicator, it's going to convert that into a symbol there. Now the one thing I would recommend if you do this is to add in your own legend, okay? Because this legend isn't really telling you what these actually mean. So to do that, I'm going to quickly show you how I would do it. Okay, so what I've done is I've added in a button here, sorry, not a button, a card, and I've also added in a new measure called legend label, and I've called this simply the text KPI legend, and I've added that as a card. Okay, now the idea here is I want this just to be available so that when I hover over here, there's a pop-up that's going to show us what the legend is. So let's put it across to this side here, and I'm going to go and create a new page. So I'll just pause the video while I do that. Okay, so I've created a page here, and this page, because I've clicked on this tooltip, is going to be available as a tooltip. And I'm going to go and insert an image, and this is an image I've created before that shows the KPI key. Okay, so I'll leave a link to a video below where I go through creating this this type of tooltip. I'm just really giving you a quick summary here. So if I go back into this value here, this work order schedule here, and if I click on the legend, and in here I'm going to go to tooltip, which is on, report page, and it's already set up actually to tooltip legend, which is great. So now if I hover above here, doesn't seem to be working there, hold on. If I make it default, and then report page, tooltip legend. Sometimes this can be a little bit problematic. Let's see. Here we go. Okay, so now we've got a legend, and we can see that for schedule KPI, which I just need to quickly change this this label here. Okay, we've got that legend there, and we can see what the red and the yellow and the green legend is for each of those different KPIs in that column. So it's starting to come together. So I mean, there's a lot more you could do aesthetically here, but I just want you to understand the concept of how you actually put this together. So let's have a look at see if there's anything else in here that we need to cover. We've covered that legend. Let's look at the other format and colors. Okay, so once we've got this, we don't want this legend to be shown, so we're going to get rid of that and turn that off. Okay, so that means that we use our legend here that we've created instead of the one there that's telling us that green is 4 and red is 1, and it doesn't really tell us what this actual icon's symbol represent. So that is pretty much it. It's pretty straightforward, and each one of these is going to allow you to then go in and just for example see where the work is being scheduled. So adding it as a drill through, so that's the final thing. To make it a drill through, we've got to put in the department field, and we'll just leave that as a category, and we've got to put in the discipline field. So they are in there now. Now it's added a button in at the top here, so just make that slightly smaller and move it across, move that down. Just do a little bit of formatting with that. Yeah, because we made it a drill through page, it's now got a button here to allow you to go back. Okay, so now we've got that as a drill through, we go in and right click on here, drill through to the work order schedule, and click on here, and we're going to see the list of work orders that are the department maintenance and the discipline mechanical. And to see the work orders, we just need to expand that. Just take a few seconds for it to render, and we can see all the KPIs are in here. So this one's orange, backlog status. So orange means for backlog status, safety critical work, not in backlog. Okay, so it's important work, but it's not yet in backlog. These ones are yellow, which means that the backlog work, which is not safety critical. So it's overdue, but it's not safety critical. And these can be any KPIs that are relevant to your business. But these are sort of, some ideas or some samples. Okay, so I think that is definitely enough to kind of hopefully share how we set up a Gantt chart and how we use it to drill down and look at the information related to when the work is scheduled to be executed. Particularly if work's already overdue, you can kind of say, well, what's the recovery plan to get us back on track? So if you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. That would be much appreciated. And if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, then click on the subscribe button and click the wee bell, and you'll get a notification each time I release a video, which is more or less every week. And if you want to check out any of the other courses that I've got on Power BI, then check the links below. And thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next video.